Welcome to MTG Friends. I am Ryan. We're gonna do a commander deck tech on a mono blue Urza Lord High Artificer. It's got a lot of Infinity style stuff going on, a lot of stacks, a lot of shutting down the board. Let's have a little warning sticker. Be forewarned that playing this commander is most likely gonna piss off the other players. So make sure that they're okay with you playing Urzas, or at least be really good friends with them so that you don't alienate them and piss it off. This commander does lock down the board a lot. This is a couple notches lower than the competitive EDH deck that has Urza, where there's just ridiculous combos and stacks and just shutting the board down, being oppressive beyond imagination. So this is a more like, dare I say, casual iteration of Urza, because I don't think the word casual and Urza really go together very well. Anyways, I think I beat that dead horse enough by just saying be careful when you play this deck, because it's going to stall out the board and really work in your favor, because it's pretty gross, it's pretty awesome, grossly awesome. All right, so what is Urza? Legendary creature, human artificer. When Urza, Lord High Artificer, enters the battlefield, create a colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Tap an untapped artifact you control, add blue. So yeah, we're going to have stuff like Winter Orb in here and things that shut down our opponents, but let us keep going. And for 5, shuffle your library, then exile the top card. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost, as if this thing wasn't strong enough. So we've got we got a combo in here for infinite mana. There is a combo style thing in here to create a bunch of constructs. Let's go through it. And the rest of it is just sort of very playable with this commander. I just feel like I am explaining the crap out of this, but that's because Urza is just super crazy. All right, super powerful commander. All right, our packages, y'all. We got control, a good amount of control, artifact love, land, shenanigans, a good amount of shenanigans. Some Tapperson stuff, removal, counterspell action, ramp, and some tutors, as well as draw. And then, of course, we got a combo here, and this is just one of the combos that could be put in this build. I will put in the description a link to a competitive EDH deck that has Urza as its commander. This is not quite at that level, because you want to be able to play it and not alienate everybody on the board. So there you have it. All right, so let's start with control. And before we go into control, as usual, if you're new, hit subscribe, hit like, thanks. And of course, always put in some comments. I will respond to every comment you have. All right, so in terms of control, we got Archmage's Charm, 3 blue. You can choose target, counter target spell. Target player draws 2 cards, which will most likely be you. Gain control of target non-land permanent with converted mana, cost 1 or less. Yes, yes, indeed. Cryptic Command, another utility, counter the spell, or you can return permanent to its owner's hand, or tap all creatures your opponent controlled, or draw a card. I mean, that's pretty versatile, and we do have some lockdown that this could help facilitate that. At the end of this episode, I'll mention a couple combos that we didn't put in here, just because, I mean, it would really ramp up the power. All right, disallow for 3, counter target spell activated ability or triggered ability. Memnarch for 3, target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. That helps with our commander. Gain control of target artifact. Oh yeah, one of their things becomes an artifact, and then you grab it, drop it like it's hot, y'all. Narset, a very oppressive card from War of the Spark. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. That's right. And -2, you can look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. You guys know what this thing does, right? Yes, yes indeed. Propaganda, keep things at bay, make them pay to swing at you. Spell Kite, you can change the target of target spell or ability to spell Kite. And of course, if we're tapped out, we can spend 2 life to cast this instead, at least the ability. Trinisphere is very, very, very oppressive and is more on the competitive side of things, but it fits very well into this. Oh, no, Trinisphere can't be in here. Oh, yeah, I can. What? Doing it live, folks. Not even going to edit it out. So this black isn't actually in the iteration of Trinisphere. Iteration? What is up with my vocabulary today? As long as Trinisphere is untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 mana to cast costs 3 mana to cast. So anything that's less than that costs them 3. So a lot of Storm is shut down with this, amongst other things. Now, the reason this threw me off, because I'm just going through the cards with you, is this isn't actually part of the card. It's just an example. Additional mana in the cost may be paid with any color of mana or colorless mana. For example, see, a spell that would cost 2 with the black to cast costs 3 to cast instead. So there you go. There you go. Blightsteel Colossus. It's an artifact. There you go. Being able to cast this for nothing would be pretty hilarious. And it's in the shenanigans category. Love it. All right, Deadeye Navigator. If you drop this thing onto your commander as Soul Bond, then you can keep exiling the creature and returning it to make stuff happen. Such as if it comes back in when it enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact with blah 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 blah. So each time you drop it back in, you create another one that's just that much bigger. It's pretty bueno, y'all. All right, let's get back here. Let's get back to where we were. And in a pinch, you could soul bond something else, but the whole intent is to soul bond your commander, y'all. All right, expedition map. We got that in here because we are running Tron. So we can stack this and go grab one of the pieces of Tron. Moving on. Mechanized production for 4. This is just a long, grindy way of winning if some of our other win conditions don't get met. Enchant artifact you control at the beginning of your upkeep created a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Interestingly enough, these are the kinds of things you could like put on a treasure token, that kind of thing. That's not the intent of this build, but if you ran this in another deck or something else, you could be doing things like treasure tokens or clues and that kind of stuff. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. What? Yeah, that's pretty redonkulous. Palancron. This one is a 7-drop for 5 that allows us to untap 7 lands, which is very helpful with the Winter Orb type shenanigans going on. And for 4, we can return it to our hand. All right, Phyrexian Metamorph, very versatile. Cost 3 and then either 2 life or a blue. You may have Phyrexian Metamorph enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield. Very versatile card in an artifact deck. Shimmermere, Flash. You may cast artifact spells as though they had Flash. That's pretty bananas, folks. Bananas. Storage Matrix. As long as Storage Matrix is untapped, each player chooses artifact, creature, or land during his or her untapped step. That player can untap only permanents of the chosen type this step. So it locks down things for our opponents, and we do have an ability to tap the Storage Matrix if and when we so choose. And we also have the ability to untap it. All right. Vedalken Orrery. You may play non-land cards anytime you could play an instant. Yes. Yes, indeed. Giving some flashy action. All right, Worm Coil Engine for 6. We know what Worm Coil Engine does and is, right? It's a 6/6 beater with Death Touch and Lifelink that dies and becomes a 3/3 Worm artifact with Death Touch and another one with Lifelink. Yes. Yes. Ethereum Sculptor. Artifacts cost 1 less. Yes, indeed. Oh, we're in the ramp. Artifacts cost 1 less. Krark Clan Ironworks. This one's great. You can sack an artifact and it adds 2 colorless to your mana pool, y'all. Mana Crypt, totally swappable card. If you want to put in another type of mana rock, absolutely. Metalworker again, also, and boy, has this thing gone up in price in the last year. Holy schmoly shnikes! Wow. Wow, has this thing just gone through the roof financially. Reveal any number of artifact cards in your hand. Add 2 colorless mana for each one revealed. Boy, does this give you some serious flipping ramp, y'all. All right, I really like Midnight Clock. It is an artifact. It's great out of... Oh, it got reprinted in the list? That is surprising to me. Crimson Vow? It's in Crimson Vow too? Oh, in the Commander. Anyways, it's originally from Throne of Eldraine. Put an hour counter on Midnight Clock. Once it hits 12, you get to shuffle all your shizzle back into your deck and draw 7 cards. And then you exile it. And when I say shizzle, I just mean your graveyard and your library. Not anything on the board. All right, we got Mox Opal. This thing is great, great, great. It costs nothing. Add 1 mana of any color. Legendary artifact. Activate this ability owner if you control 3 or more artifacts, which is going to be very, very, very likely. All right, Sapphire Medallion. Blue spells cost 1 less. Pretty simple. Straightforward. Silver Mirror. Add blue to your mana pool. All right, a little bit more ramp. Soul Ring, of course. Vedalken Archmage. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, draw a card. That should be in draw. I will put that in the draw after the video. Darksteel Forge. Artifacts you control have indestructible, so those board wipes are going to do jack diddly. Jack diddly to you with that in play. All right, we got one of the regular combos. Basalt Monolith doesn't untap. At your untap step, you can tap for 3, and for 3 untap Basalt. But with Power Artifact, you can make that for infinite mana. The activation cost of target artifact is reduced by 2. If this would reduce target artifacts past or below 1, target artifacts activation cost becomes 1. Blah, blah, blah. So that makes Basalt Monolith. Or if you also want to put Grim Monolith, which is way more expensive, you could also do it with that. So you can tap and keep untapping, then tap again, which then makes it infinite mana. You net positive. And you can also do it with Rings of Bright Hearth. Whenever you activate an ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 2. If you do copy that ability, you may choose new targets for the copy. And the explanation there is when you untap Basalt Monolith, it is not a mana ability. Untap Basalt Mana. It's untapping Basalt Monolith, not giving you mana. Boom, shalakalaka. There you go. All right, Arkham Dagson or Dogson Artifact Lovin'. Target artifact creature's controller sacrifices it. That player may search their library for a non-creature artifact card, put it on the battlefield. So if we want to be fetching up some artifacts, this is how we do it. Emery, Lurker of the Lock. I really thought we'd see a lot more play of this card in Standard and in Commander. You just don't see this card very often. Spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control, so it gets super cheap. Basically 1 blue at that point. Whenever Emery, Lurker of the Lock enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard, which is fine. We're okay with that. Choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. Some more artifact love. Return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. You may put an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield. Wow, be able to dump Colossus onto there. for 1 blue. That's pretty funny. Scrap Trawler. Whenever Scrap Trawler or another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser mana value. So we can start doing some games with Scrap Trawler to bring back all sorts of stuff. Sharding Sphinx for 6, a little spendy. This one could easily be swapped out for something else that if you feel should be in here instead. And if there is something that you think should swap in for this instead, put it in the comments. Whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying. So there you go. It does cost 6. You get a 4/4 flyer, which is not terrible, but then you get to be making more artifact creatures, which helps out all of the synergies in this deck. Flying, Steel Hellkite gets +1/0 until end of turn. For X, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X. So this is a great one to stabilize the board state, especially if you have like, oh, I don't know, bunch of goblins out there, or you got a bunch of tribal stuff. This is a way to just clear the board of things you don't want there. All right, we got a little tappy stuff. Back to the basics. Non-basic lands do not untap during their controller's untap phases. Boom. Yeah. Hate. Like I said, there's a lot of hate in this deck. Dramatic Reversal. Untap all non-land permanents you control. Oh boy, you see where this is going, right? Manifold Key, untap another target artifact. We're cool with that, but even better, target creature can't be blocked this turn. That's great too. Actually, I said that in reverse. Untap another target artifact is the part that is important in this deck. The other part is just sort of a bonus. A bonus. And then one of the grossest things here, Static Orb. Players cannot untap more than 2 permanents during their untap phases. And if that wasn't gross enough, we have a couple more that stack on top of that. Unwinding Clock. Untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. We got some more Shenanigans for 1 untapped target artifact. And this one gets a serious ugh. A player may not untap more than 1 land during the untap phase of each of his or her turns. But we have ways to make our stuff become untapped anyways, which is nice. Very nice. All right, and then if that all wasn't enough, then we have a bunch of control in the form of counterspells, including Counterspell. Fierce Guardianship, which costs nothing if we dump a blue, I believe. If a commander, you may cast. Oh, if the commander's out. Sometimes I get confused between Fierce Guardianship and, what is it, Force of Negation? Is it Force of Negation that costs nothing? Yeah, there we go. If it's not your turn, you can exile a blue card rather than pay its mana cost and counter target non-creature spell. Mana Drain on top of that. Oh, and again, if these are not in the budget, you don't have them yet, you can always swap them out for more traditional counter spells. Force of Negation, Mana Drain, which does the same stuff, but then gives you mana equal to what you countered on your next main phase. That's pretty gross too. Narset's Reversal, very versatile. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new target for the copy. May is important. You don't have to. Pact of Negation. This is just a serious I'm tapped out and I gotta counter whatever they're doing or else the game has been lost. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next upkeep. Pay 5. If you don't, you lose the game. So be careful when you use Pact of Negation. It can screw you if you don't plan correctly. Swan Song, counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. They get a 2/2 bird. All right, so not a huge amount of countering going on here because we have so much other stuff going on, and we're really focused on Urza doing its shenanigans, you know, making constructs and just really taking your opponents to Hose Town. To Hose Town. That's awesome. All right, flying. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. I mean, that's just a no-brainer right there. Consecrated Sphinx is awesome. And like in the more CEDH decks, these are the kind of cards that wouldn't necessarily be in there because in the CEDH ilk, you're trying to really blast them by turn 3, 4, 5. We're not quite we haven't gone there. So Howling Mine, this is nice because we have the ability to tap this on opponent's turns and then untap it for ours so that we get the benefit of the double draw and they don't. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying, y'all? At the beginning of each player's draw step, if Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card. All right, Padim, Console of Innovation for 4/1/4. Artifacts you control have hexproof. That's a nice little benefit. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control the artifact with the highest converted mana cost or tied for the highest converted mana cost, draw a card. That's going to be very, very likely. We're all about artifacts. Heuristic Study, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. Is it me or maybe I'm just talking too fast and I'm stumbling over these cards? Because y'all know what Heuristic Study is. It's the card we love to hate. That if we're playing against it, we hate it. If we're playing it, we love it. I mean, we just do. We do, y'all. And it's originally out of what? Is it Prophecy? Oh. I didn't realize it was from Prophecy. I thought it was older than that. Although that's really old. Psy Master Thopterist. Whew, say that fast. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. And for 2, sacrifice 2 artifacts, draw a card. We're going to have plenty of artifacts, assuming there aren't board wipes and or our stuff is not indestructible. Is indestructible? Is not. Yeah, there you go. Shimmer Dragon for 6. As long as you control 4 or more artifacts, Shimmer Dragon has hexproof and tap 2 untap artifacts you control. Draw a card. Draw, draw, draw. Draw me some draw. Draw me some cards, y'all. Tezzeret Artifice Master for 5. So you can do a few things here. One of them is for nothing, draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. Yeah, and you can uptick it and create a 1/1 color stop to artifact creature token with flying. But most likely we're going to be doing that 0/0 to the Planeswalker. You know what? What's that ultimate? You get an element with at the beginning of your end step. Search your library for a permanent card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. That's so ridiculous. If you haven't won the game by the time you ultimate this thing, that will definitely get you there. Thought Monitor, Affinity for artifacts. Because, yeah, a 2/2 for 7 is ridiculously dumb. But costs less per artifact. When Thought Monitor enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. You could also flick that thing if so needed. If you don't have Urza out, you can start soul bonding that bad boy. All right, we got some lands. Most of them are basics, but there's a few in here that really help this deck. Academy Ruins is probably one of the biggest. For 2 and tap, put target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library. That is so great and grand. Grandiose. Ancient Tomb, tap it for 2, take 2 damage. All right, another artifact-centric card and land. Sacrifice Buried Ruin, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. All right, artifact land, indestructible. Commander's Fair, legendary land. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, which you most likely will, gain 1 life. And then for 4, you can sack it, search for an artifact, tutor up some groovy-licious stuff. Like I said, we're running a bunch of islands, 19 in this particular situation. Mystic Sanctuary, this one's pretty grand. You can, return instant or sorcery back from the graveyard to the top of your library, which is useful. There's a good chance we're going to be drawing a bunch of cards. That's why we got Reliquary Tower in here. And if we make this thing happen, instead of using it for its mana source, we will have no max size for the rest of the game as well. And it's a huge draw mechanic. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. Boom, boom. All right, we got another artifact land, the one in blue. And like I said, we're running Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and, oh, where's the other Urza? Apparently it wanted us to see Urza Saga first. There we go. Urza's Tower. So you get all 3 of these out there, and you got lots and lots of mana at your hands, at your fingertips. What is it, 3/3/2? I think it's 3/3/2. I haven't played Urza's for a while. Yeah. There you go. Tap for 2, tap for 2, tap for 3. There we go. That's pretty nice. All right, Urza Saga. This one's pretty great. It's out of Modern Horizons 2. This is nice because its Saga on turn 2 and turn 3 really help a lot. Its first is you can tap for colorless. Its second is you can create an 0/0 colorless, but you can also fetch up. No, the third one is fetching. Whew, wow. Okay. Urza Saga gains for 2. Create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gives +1/+1 for each artifact you control. You can also choose the first part as well. And then its third, which I kind of stumbled over my own brain, is we can go fetch up like a Soul Ring or something that costs 0 or 1. And most likely it's going to be for a Soul Ring in this particular build. Oh, the Urzas, they look so nice. Love the artwork on those. War Room, this is to get some extra draw. You can pay 3 and pay 1 life because we're in mono blue, and we can draw a card. All right, we got some removal like Cyclonic Rift. We know what this does. For 7, we can make all non-land permanents of our opponents go back to their hands. Pongify, to destroy a creature, give them a 3/3 ape. Rabid Hybridization, same thing, destroy it, give them a 3/3 frog. Can't be regenerated, which is nice. Tidespout Tyrant, whenever you cast a spell, return target permanent to his owner's hand. Such a ridiculous card. That is, so gross. I mean, at least it's 5 blue. I mean, so it's hard to get out, but once it's out there, if they don't remove it immediately, it's just bananas. All right, we got some tutors. For Fabricate 3, search library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Not bad. Does cost 3, which is also not bad. Kuldotha, Forge Master for 5. Construct, sacrifice 3 artifacts, search your library for an artifact card, and put it on the battlefield. Yeah. Can you imagine doing that to go fetch up Blightsteel Colossus? Of course, the OG Mystic Tutor. We can go grab a sorcery and or instant, put it on top of our library at instant speed. Reshape, X blue. Has an additional cost to cast this spell. Sacrifice an artifact, which shouldn't be an issue by the time we need to use it. Search the library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield. Tezzeret the Seeker for 5. Untap up to 2 target artifacts. Or down ticket, search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X. Put it into play. And its ultimate 5 artifacts you control become 5/5 artifact creatures until end of turn. So that would be something you do to win the game. That ultimate, I'm thinking. So most likely you're going to be using it to fetch up some artifact shenanigans. Thadadel Acquisitor. Ooh, I said it right off the rip. For 3/2/2 in Island Walk, whenever Thadadel, then of course I totally butcher it. Yes. Whenever it deals damage to a player, search that player's library for an artifact card and exile it, which is just funny. Then that player shuffles his or her library until end of turn. You may play that card. Often you're just going to go grab some of their mana rocks, but in a bonus situation, you're going to go grab something super spicy. And at the very worst, see what is in their deck. So, Urza, Lord High Artificer. To recap, this is a super gross deck. It's going to really break the game more often than not. So, either be super familiar with your play group or if you're going into semi-competitive. Again, there is a version of this that I'll put in the description that's even more hardcore. Kind of dialed it down a little bit, but you can't really dial down Urza too much because it's just that powerful. It's a great commander. It actually is very fun to play, and for you blue spell players, you're gonna love it. So, and full disclosure, if you've made it all the way to the end, is I actually won't play this deck because I think it's too powerful and will piss off my play group too much that I wouldn't get enough play out of it because they wouldn't want me to play it. I do have a buddy though, Zach. Zach and I would probably play these kinds of decks all day long. So shout out to Zach. Peace, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Check out our other episodes, and thank you for being a subscriber and your support, y'all. And if you made it this far, I am very, very happy you did. And put something in the comments that shows me that me blabbing on this long actually retains some listeners. But I'm guessing nobody's gonna say anything because by the time you hear me babbling right now, you're on to something else. Peace, y'all. Rock on.